Welcome to this video featuring Current, the new virtual instrument from Minimal Audio. I was pleased to be invited by the team at Minimal Audio to check out their first soft synth. So this video is an opportunity to explore Current together, and for me to point out features that are worthy of attention and that differentiate Current from other soft synths on the market. So rather than a review of Current, this is more of an overview, with all the sound that you hear created on Current with no external effects. This video is not sponsored by Minimal Audio. They have no say in the content of the video, and any opinions that I express are my own. Current is a comprehensive virtual instrument with a complete suite of effects and an integrated, cloud-connected content platform, but more about that later. Let's begin by looking at the sound engine itself. So if we look at the overall layout of Current, you'll see that there are 3 tabs running along the top: Wavetables, Granular, Sub and Sampler. And there are 2 sections on the right hand side: Filters and FM, AM. There's a separate effects section and something called Stream, which we'll come to, as I said, later. So let's have a look at the Wavetable section of Current. You'll see that I've selected a very simple saw square sign. There are plenty of wavetables you can choose from, broken down into different sections. Let's leave it as it is, saw square sign, because this will illustrate things very nicely. You'll find this on many synths that it goes from a sawtooth to a square wave to a sine. We're hearing now a sine wave, and let's see the effect of that by the extra modulation options that are available within Current itself. Bear in mind that I had an early version of Current. I had the pre-release version, and so I've never needed to actually refer to the manual once, because the tooltip section are so helpful. So as you can see there, it's actually giving us a bit of information about what will happen with that particular control. So as we move the scan section here, you'll see the effect on the waveform. I'll play the effect. Let's pitch scan. I'll just move through the other options. Wave folding. Actually, it's worth engaging this control up here, this S symbol, which you'll see is a soft clip limiter, just to ensure that any of the modulation that I'm doing doesn't distort. So now let's have a look at some of the spectral effects. Let's put this on a sawtooth so you can see the effects on a saw. Again, in common with a lot of other synths, there is unison mode. I find odd number of voices tend to work well. Let's have a listen to that. Now, the other interesting thing that I found about the oscillators, you can actually disable the fundamental tone. So if we play 5 stacked sawteeth, and switch the fundamental off, you get sort of the top end of the sound, if you like, without the fundamental frequency. And this can be nice to add like a shimmer. If you've got a complex wavetable, it'll add like a shimmer effect to the sparkling effect to the sound. So let's have a look at some of the modulation options and how straightforward it is. Along the bottom here, this first one is fixed to the amp envelope, but all the others can be selected to whatever you want. So if you want a whole row of 9 other envelopes, you can select each one to be an envelope. Similarly, you can have up to 9 LFOs, and you can also have a curve, which is you can draw your own curves in, and there I can select from a variety of defaults. Have a look at some of the complex ones. So you can get sort of rhythmic effects going very easily. Very, very flexible. So to apply that to a wavetable, let's select a more interesting wavetable. Let's have a look at analog edge, an analog folded sine, and have a listen to that. So let's have that modulating through with an LFO. So we'll select this particular one. We'll click on the yellow, drag it up to the position knob, and dial in an amount. So as you can see now, the LFO is affecting the wavetable, and if I right click, I can set that to bipolar, so it'll work both positively and negatively. Another interesting thing about the LFOs is that you can sync them, you can set the value in hertz. You can set them to various time divisions, dotted, triplets, etc. But you can also randomize what is a regular sine wave there. If I hit randomize, you'll see that it just subtly randomizes it. And if I take that to 100%, effectively we're getting a totally randomized waveform now. Still loosely based on that sine, but progressing at random. So it's quite interesting because you can vary the degrees of random. So you can have something that is a sine wave, but something is ever so slightly different every time. Quite flexible. So let's have a brief look at the filter section. 2 filters are on offer. They have keyboard tracking and they can be assigned in either series or parallel. But for now, I'm going to put oscillator A and B into the 12 dB filter, low pass 12. And what I like about it is the fact that it is a stereo filter. So if we open up the spread there to about 50%, give it a bit of resonance. So in the basics, as you can see, there's low pass, band pass, and high pass. A comprehensive selection of filters, and of course you can route the 2 filters and have the 2 filters going at the same time, routed any way that you wish. So if I initialize a preset, mute oscillator A, let's have a look at the granular side of things. So if I call up load sample, you can drag and drop literally into the center there. But if I click load sample, you'll see some that I've tried out earlier. So we'll have a quick look at the features. And again, I'll try and concentrate on things that differentiate current from other granular offerings. So here's the speed of the playback. You can see that we can slow that down to virtually stationary or make it completely stationary and adjust the position manually. Here we adjust the size of the grains, the shape of the grains, and if I click spray, we're spraying the grains within the highlighted section here. So there's a handy high pass filter, but you can also set it to low pass, band pass, and notch. So how is this different to other granular offerings? Well, we can actually have multiple layers of the sample itself. The speed is stationary, and you can adjust the layer span. So as you can see, we have sort of 3 separate sources. So if you have a long sample that contains different pitches, you can place the 3 play heads, for example, to make a 3-note chord if there are 3 different pitches in there. Let's randomize the fine tune. So we'll just... that's too random. Let's make it about 10%. Randomize the pan position. Have that on 100% random. Let's have this fading in because it doesn't sound right. It's meant to be a pad type. Perfect. And so you can see the rate of grains. suggested here, it's actually synced at the moment. So if you've got something that's rhythmic, you can actually sync it to your tempo. If I set it to free, you'll see the effect of that. The shape is sort of continuously variable. You can even automate that. Something like that is quite useful, but you can skew it as well. So for more percussive effects, you can have almost an envelope. Well, it is an envelope, isn't it? For each grain. Let's try a low flute sound. So that's multiple pitches. As you can see, we've got 3 playheads, and it's playing different parts of the sample. So that's quite interesting. You can also change the pattern. So there's a little representation on the screen here, an even pattern. This is the pattern of the grains themselves, a triggered pattern, a random pattern, waves, and a strike. So again, for rhythmic effects, you can be very, very flexible. But for something like this, that having effectively the 3 playheads simultaneously allows you particularly if you've got a shorter number of grains, allows you a much finer degree of control. So I've muted the granular. Let's have a look at the regular sampler section. Again, you can drag and drop. I'll just load up from the user sound. Let's try Glistening Cave. Have a listen to that. So I'm just playing middle C. Okay, this is, I think, one of the ones that I've created. Let's just loop that. And we'll set it onto a forward loop, and we'll have a crossfade so that we don't hear let's make it a bit shorter so we don't hear the crossfade. There we go, a lovely smooth crossfade. But what makes the sampler section different from other samplers is that you can actually multiply the number of voices, so we can apply a unison effect on the samples. You also have a filter section here, pan, etc., but that's pretty much standard for anything that incorporates samples. But it's got a very nice crossfade, and the fact that you can stack your voices into a unison mode means you can get good, rich voices. So this is probably a good time to have a look at the effects section. So let's make this more pad-like again by increasing the attack and the release times. And if we go to the effects section, you'll see there's a very comprehensive selection of effects. Let's put a chorus on this first to make it an even thicker sound. So you can see it's a 4-voice chorus, but you can have up to 24 voices. Let's try 8. Increase the feedback, reduce the time, and the mod depth. That's a nice smooth chorus. Let's have a look at the delay. Do love the cluster delay. Wobble on the delay. And finally, let's run that through a reverb. So there's a variety of presets. Rather than starting from scratch, let's call up, say, Alaska as an ambient space. Again, I'm showing you this type of sound because a lot of the sounds that come with Current tend to be quite aggressive, and that's hardly surprising, as their Minimal Audio are the team that gave the world Rift Distortion, which is included this soft synth, so that's pretty good going. Doesn't lend itself to this sound, so I'll just leave that empty. But there's a decent compressor, decent reverb, very good phaser. I love the chorus, I love the delay. So much so I went and bought the VST version of the delay myself. And you do have you have more VQ as well. So you can actually create let's double click on there, create an EQ, create another point, and we can assign these to any of the LFOs. Simply drag that onto that EQ point, and actually no, we drag it onto shift, I think. Yep, and then that is now morphing that EQ point, and you can select the point that you wish to morph, like so. So let's have a look at the sub oscillator. I've left the patch exactly as it was before. I've disabled the EQ. I'm going to enable the sub, and you can select the number of parcels you have. So let's just have the fundamental at the moment. We can set it to mono, which is useful obviously to control the sub frequencies. And if we now just have a listen to that, you'll see that it's a rather meaty sub, to put it mildly. And we can adjust the decay of the sub, the drive, so we can sort of overdrive. It's actually going through the reverb, so it's perhaps emphasizing that the overdriven nature of that. If we can dial up the extra partials to give a few more sort of upper harmonics, and you can tilt the harmonics, have them all flat, evenly spaced, and odd harmonics. The direct out bypasses the filters and bypasses the effects. Let's just put that back and just listen to the sub on its own. They've really thought through the sub oscillator. The mono output is a good idea, as is the direct out, so you can bypass both the filters and the effects. So let's have a look at the FM AM section, the frequency modulation and amplitude modulation. You'll see that each source, so here we're looking at oscillator A, can be modulated either by itself using feedback, so you can generate feedback frequency modulation or amplitude modulation by simply toggling between the two, from, for example, oscillator B, or itself using feedback, or the granular. So let's try that now. If we go down to the sampler section, you'll see that I can modulate it with the sub. So let's have a listen. So I've set it to FM, listen to the depth of that sub. And now I'm introducing FM to the sampler. So again, we can modulate that very easily. Let's do it with that LFO. Piece of cake. Make it bipolar. Slow down the LFO. So great for soundscape creation, or just generally making something a little bit more gnarly by applying FM. You look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see there's a keyboard section here. So if I select say velocity, you'll see that all these keyboard commands are listed at the bottom: note off, aftertouch, mod wheel, pitch bend, velocity, and key tracking. So if I wanted to select say velocity to control that FM depth, we just click on the velocity, drag it up to the amount slider. Very straightforward. And similarly, if your keyboard is particularly velocity sensitive, you can dial in, you can adjust the contour like so, and that applies to all the parameters. You'll notice as well that there are MPE commands, so you have key track, strike, glide, slide, press, and lift. You can adjust all of those in a similar fashion and assign them to whatever parameter you wish. So just before I show you the chords section and the Arps section, there's one thing I forgot to mention amongst the modulations. There is in fact an envelope follower. So if I select, if I play a note now, you'll see that the actual waveform itself is represented by the envelope follower, and we can assign that to whatever, to modulate whatever we wish. Now, I don't know at the moment whether that's going to work on external inputs or if it's only from the internal sounds generated. I believe it's only internal sounds generated as of version 1, another useful facility that I haven't seen on many other synths. So if we have a look at this patch Analog Dawn, it gives you an idea as to what's going on with the arpeggiator section. So at the moment it's set to play a chord of C when I press the note of C, just to make life easier. So I'm going to press the note of C, and we'll hear pretty standard stuff, just a down arpeggio. But if I select skip to say 22%, then 22% of the notes are going to be skipped, and so it'll give us more variation. Let's make it a smaller percentage. Speed up the rate. And we can select a different method. So there's a melodic one here. Let's try Cascade. So there's quite a lot of variations on the left-hand side here, the actual patterns themselves, and then the sync mode lets us adjust them. So as well as the skip mode, there are various sort of syncopated beats. Let's try Sneaker. See what that does. So let's have a look at the chord section with this this pad Beautiful Surge. You'll notice that for each chord you can, so we're listening to D now, you can add the root note. You can go an octave down or an octave up or both. We can even remove the root, and you can do the same for each third, the fifth, the seventh, and the ninth of each chord. The way that you can customize the individual chords is quite flexible, and of course it works in conjunction with the ARP as well. So now it's time to address the issue that I'm sure will divide viewers of this video, and that's the fact that Current will be subscription based. There'll be a monthly option or a slightly cheaper yearly option, and there's a link to the product pages included in the description of this video. I invite you to let me know your feelings about subscription-based services in the comments section below the video. Roland have gone down the subscription route with their Roland Cloud service. Output Arcade is also subscription-based, and of course there's also Reason Plus. I suppose the success of a subscription service will come down to providing regular fresh content for subscribers, and Minimal Audio say that new curated content will be released every month from their sound design team. So let's have a look at the content available at the time of launch, which for future reference is October 2023. So if I select the Stream button, you'll see that there are two tabs at the top right hand corner, Local and Cloud. Local obviously shows what is local to my machine that I've downloaded, and you'll see to make it easier to find, I can heart it to make it a favorite, and I can sort things by favorites, by user presets or downloaded files. You can search for things by tabs as well. There are various tabs on the left here. So let's say we're looking for a particular pad, so I can select pad. I'm in the cloud section, so it'll pull up all the pads that are available on the cloud. The ones I've downloaded are shown with ticks, but I'm looking for a granular type pad, and now you'll see that all the granular pads are selected, so I can look for one with a slow attack. And let's have a listen to, I haven't got cooling beams, let's have a listen to that. Spinning spokes. Okay, that seems to be the sort of sound I'm looking for, so I'll click the download button. It's fairly quick, and then I can simply select load, and if I toggle now into the engine, spinning spokes will now have loaded up. There's the granular sample. So it's a combination of wavetables and granular, and personally I would make that attack a bit longer and the decay a bit longer as well. So so that's the principle about downloading new patches. But you can also, if I go to the if I go back to the section you were looking at presets, you can actually download wavetables in the same way. So here's a selection of wavetables. There's an analog lo-fi wavetables here. You can see I haven't downloaded quite as many wavetables. You can audition them again. It's quite a nice analog sounding wavetable. And there are even instrument wavetables. So for example, somewhere there's a bowed guitar. So again, for sort of soundscapes, you can get some really nice effects for those. So let's go back to instruments. There's cello. Nylon pluck. So a good selection of wavetables. If you're looking for these sounds or samples themselves, there's a variety of one-shots, loops, etc. Synth drum sounds, vocals. So let's have a look at vocals. So the ancestors. So it gives you the key. Again, you can just click. You can load it straight into Grains or straight into Sampler. So let's do that. Let's put it straight into Sampler, and we've got now the same patch. Spinning spokes. Let's take the granular level down. But we've added the ancestors. We've added that sample to that patch. I put that onto a loop. So in the stream section we have presets, wavetables and sounds, which is basically samples, which can be loaded as we've just seen into Grains or into Sampler. Now the biggest selection are in the sample section by far. You'll see that there are over 3,000 one-shot samples, 1,900 drums, etc. So there's a good selection of sounds here. It's fairly easy to narrow them down to what you want, and they've been curated into various sets that you'll probably recognize if you visited the Minimal Audio website. So for example, Bloom is here, which is of interest to me. So there's a lo-fi ascent in C minor, 140 BPM. Ballroom. So there's a decent selection of samples, and hopefully that will continue to grow. So there you have it, a comprehensively specified soft synth that genuinely offers a few innovative features that I haven't seen implemented in most other plugins. The patches offered with Current at the time of launch tend to be warm, gnarly, punchy, and often with rhythmic elements and a driven, sometimes overdriven sound, which is not entirely surprising as Minimal Audio include the excellent Rift as one of their effects. And I like the cluster delay so much, as I said earlier, that I bought the VST version, even though I've got a large number of delays already. So if those sort of sounds appeal to you, then Current will be right up your street. However, the synth engine itself is so comprehensive that I'm sure we'll see many more mellow or more complex evolving patches as time progresses. If you're into creating your own patches, then Current is sufficiently versatile to create almost any synth sound you can imagine. And if you're the sort of person who's only interested in presets, then a fresh monthly supply of sounds and presets could be just what you're looking for. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. It's entirely free and helps me to create fresh content for you. Sharing the video and giving a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it also helps enormously. So until the next one, thanks for watching.